to another episode of Hidden Stories Healed Now. Today we're going to talk about trauma, and we're going to talk about how to overcome different aspects of trauma in life. And I am so blessed and fortunate to have with me today Miss Naya Williams.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you for coming and sharing with our global audience.
Thank you.
And I know that they're going to get a lot from hearing from you. So I'd love for you to share the things that have been going on in your life and your journey.
Again, thank you for having me. So when I was young, I always looked at life as, I was just dealt this bad hand. I hear that a lot of times when people say that, and I started saying it myself when I was younger. By the time I was 9 years old is when I first experienced trauma. I lost my baby sister, and that was the first time I ever had to experience grief. I didn't understand what the pain was. I just knew that I was hurting. So here I am, this 9-year-old little girl, having to go to a funeral and look at my little sister's body laying in this casket. And in that moment, I'm just like, what is this? I can't believe this is happening. And I remember standing there holding my mother's hand and looking up to her because I was this tiny little 9-year-old little girl. Excuse me. And I look up at my mother, and, she's doing what mothers do, just pouring tears, sorrow. And I didn't cry because I didn't understand what was going on. I just knew my little sister had passed away and we have to go and bury her. So by the time we got past that, the trauma hit me a little later in life. And at that time, I didn't understand that I was still experiencing the trauma from losing my baby sister. And then by the time I was 16 years old, my grandmother, my loving grandmother, she passed away in front of me. She had a heart attack. And here I am, 16 years old. I'm finally overcoming, the pain from losing my sister, and then my grandmother dies. And I'm literally looking at her. She had a heart attack literally right here in my face, and I didn't know how to handle that pain. And I think that was my journey of just acting out, just trying to find my way in life. I lost my grandmother, I lost my sister, so what's next? Okay, I'm going through all of this trauma that I haven't even healed from. So I think that's what made me become this strong lady, young lady. But even though I was strong, I still was trying to figure out my next steps of how I'm going to get through this pain that I'm going through. By the time I was 19 years old, I was already a mother of 3. And here I am, this single young mother, going through all the things that I was experiencing in life and just trying to figure my way through life. And, okay, how am I going to make it? What am I going to do? My mother was a drug addict, and I think that's what pushed me to be like, okay, I'm not going to become this, but I'm also going to become this strong woman, to be able to see about my 3 children. I did have a lot of help raising my first 3 children. Even though it was hard, I finished high school. And then, okay, I got through all of that in life. I'm like, yes, I'm kind of getting on a better path in life. And then 23 years old, I hit and I find out the person that I thought was my father was not my father. So I'm like, here we go again. Some more trauma that's happening in my life. I've overcome all of these things, and here I am having to deal with the fact that even though this person was never in my life, I've lost all hope in one day knowing, I get to spend time with the person I thought was my father. He wasn't my father. So now I'm looking at my mom like, okay, Mom, what am I going to do? I don't even know who my father is. So I feel like that part there really shaped and molded me to become who I am, as far as not knowing who my father is, wanting a father figure in my life to teach me things, and I didn't have that. So a lot of things I just started to try to figure out on my own. Here I am, a 19-year-old mother of 3. I don't have a father. I'm a single mother, and what's going to be my next move in life? But I wasn't going to let that define me. I was going to be a better person. I wanted to make sure that even though I was a young mother, I was going to finish school. I was going to go to college. I was just wanting to set a better example for my children. And so I did that. By the time I was 27, I said, okay, I'm done with the partying. Even though I thought I was done with the partying, I really wasn't. But I determined in my mind that I am going to go to college. I'm going to finish school. So I went back to college, and I went to college, and I got my undergrad in criminal justice, Homeland Security. And then that wasn't enough for me because I'm like, oh, okay, now I have to really prove this point. Like I've got made it this far, I want to keep going. And so I went back to school and obtained my MBA in human resources. So I just wanted to always do something that was going to make my children proud, make my mother proud, because I was proud of her for overcoming her addiction and the things that she went through in life. So I was like, okay, my mother did that. I'm going to do this and show my children as well as my mother and my family that you can overcome anything.
What a blessing. First of all, you do say strength. You define what strength really is.
Thank you.
You know, and we don't always understand the cards that we're dealt. We don't understand the trials and the tribulations that we go through. And it's, you know, it's not about, you know, getting to those trials and tribulations. It's about how we handle them.
Yes.
And so it's great that you were able to take trauma that happened in your life and really be able to turn it around so that you had motivation and what happened to you as an early mother, right? You have these 3 children that can now become motivation for you.
Yes.
And you went back to school. So talking about that, I really want us to hone in on the things that are really challenges when we talk about our community and we talk about having these things from a background. The first thing I want to ask is, you said that you had a lot of help when you had your 3 children. Is there any advice that you can give a mother that's saying, how do I figure it out? I want to finish school. How do I get care for my child and go to school? Let's start there.
Yes. So one thing it is important is when you are a young mother, you want to have that support system, but a lot of times you do not have that. So you have to put in your mind that it is a will to want to do better. A lot of times we have these 3 kids and we give up. We just like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to depend on the system. I'm going to depend on, you know, I don't have anybody to depend on. But you have to have a will to say, I'm going to be strong enough to overcome this. Yes, I'm a single mother, but I want better out of life. And you have to keep going. And sometimes you have to reach out for help. A lot of times we get so caught up in the fact that, oh, these are my kids, I have to figure this thing out. But you can ask for help. There are people in the community that will help you. Don't get so caught up in the fact that, oh, I am the single mother, these are my kids, and I'm afraid to ask for help. Believe it or not, there are people out there that will help you if you speak up. I feel like that's what the community is there for. If you have friends in your life that are really behind you, just ask them, you know, help me, I need to go to work, I want to go to school. Try to work that out with the schedule with you and your friend or somebody in your family. There's help out there. Don't feel like you have to do it alone. I did feel alone at times, but even though I had, you know, my mother, after she overcame her addiction, she helped me with my children. And then I had their great grandmother who really helped out as well. A lot of people don't have that, but even the times that I felt like I didn't have anyone, I was just determined to keep going. And I think that's the mindset you have to have, is I have to keep going no matter what is going on in my life. I have these children, these are mine. God bless me with these kids. So I have to do what I have to do to make it better for their life.
Well, we're going to take a station break, and when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about those steps that you went through. We'll be right back.
Every story has a hidden element that is not often shared. Hidden Stories, Healed Now, with host Vicki Wright-Hamilton, seeks to share the hidden gems in real-life experiences. Our guests are ordinary people sharing their stories of overcoming insurmountable odds while providing hope and inspiration.
You know, the thing that can cause us the biggest pain of not sharing our experiences is being embarrassed. And I just want you to know, don't be embarrassed. Don't be concerned that the thing that you're facing, the challenge that you're going through, the impacts that you're having, are something that no one else is having. See, embarrassment begins to weigh on us physically, mentally, and emotionally. And there are solutions out there. And that's the whole purpose of talking about these stories, is to provide solutions and hope. Remember, you're not alone. You don't have to be alone. There are other people that can help you. So reach out, touch someone, and get that help. Look for that person that can provide for you what you need. So Another opportunity to get a solution is always tune in to Hidden Stories Healed Now. Thank you so much for joining back on Hidden Stories Healed Now. So Naya, you go through these things, you go to college. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You get your degree, and you go, you know what, that's not enough. I'm gonna go get my master's. So you go and get your master's. So what happens from a relationship perspective? Were you looking for a relationship? Did you decide you wanted a relationship? Where did you go from there?
Well, during the time I was I think I had just finished up my undergrad, and then I think I took a year off before I started my master's. And I just was, at this time in my life, I was like, I just want to focus on myself and my children. So I didn't look for a relationship. I actually was single for like 5 years. And I just wanted to focus on finishing school and raising my children. There was still a lot of obstacles that came because, of course, we're human. I was lonely. But I was like, you know what, I'm not going to settle. I'm not thinking about getting with some guy that's going to, take me away from what I'm trying to do. So I just stayed focused on finishing school because that was my number one goal. And that's what I did.
So, did you ever get married?
I did. So later in life, after I had obtained my master's degree and my children had grew up a little bit, I moved away from the community that I was living in and moved to Hiram, Georgia, and purchased a home and everything. And by this time, I'm like, okay, I've pretty much done it all. I've bought a house. My kids are older now. 2 of them are in high school. And I met this guy. I mean, it was just like, it happened. I was coming out of the CVS pharmacy one day, and I think I was actually having a very bad day. And he said something to me, and I'm like, what did you say? Like, I had an attitude and everything. He was just like, oh, I like your hair. And I'll never forget that. And we were like inseparable ever since. I remember calling my sister when I met him. It was like, I think I met my soulmate. And my sister was like, oh, she was so happy and everything. But it was just, I think God just placed me in that moment to be at CVS pharmacy to meet him, because I literally was not thinking about dating at this time after I bought my home. I'm like, oh, I'm good now. I bought my house. My kids are good. I'm not thinking about getting in a relationship. And God said, not yet. I have one more person for you. And he brought my husband into my life.
Wow. So now you're married.
Yes.
So now you have this family, you're married, you're happy. What happens?
Yes. So my husband and I, we weren't married at this time, but we were dating for about 2 years. And then, of course, turmoil comes into marriage a little bit. And so my husband had went missing, and we couldn't find him for about 2 weeks, I think it was. And then, sorry, I get a little emotional talking about it.
All right.
Sorry. My husband was discovered in a body of water after being missing for 2 weeks. And here I am. I'm like, I know this isn't happening to me. I've overcome all of this trauma in my life. I've made a better life for my children. I have bought a house. Like, I felt like I was living the American dream. Like, that's what I felt like I needed to be doing. And my husband was taken away. And when I say that was the worst pain out of all the traumas I've experienced, losing my spouse was the most hardest time of my life. And I didn't know what I was going to do. I had a new baby. She was 11 months. And I'm like, here I am having to be a single mother of 5 children now, all by myself again. And I said, God, you didn't bring me this far to leave me. And I remember going through that pain. I laid on my couch. Every day I would count. I would sit up on my couch. I would get my 2 youngest ones, take them to the daycare and to school. I laid on that couch every day, and I would count every day. I'd sit up. I still feel this pain. God, when are you going to take this pain away? I'm crying every morning I wake up. My children don't understand what's going on, but I have to keep going and pressing, because they have to go to school and stuff. Come home, lay back down. This was my everyday routine for literally 45 days. I counted. I had a calendar. I feel this pain. 45 days went by. And I used to play this clip from, I think it was Sarah Jakes. It was called Girl Get Up. And I played that every single day. Girl, get up. Girl, get up. And I had to keep that in my mind. You have to get up. And on that 45th day, I sat up on that couch. I was like, it was like a weight had lifted off of me. And after that, I kept saying, today is going to be better than my yesterday. And I would tell myself that every single day. And every day it got better and better and better. Oh, I still have my moments where I break down. Grief is always going to be with you. But it was just something that I was able to say, I know my husband isn't here, but I know I have to continue to live for my children. I have to continue to live for my family, my best friends, everybody. There's a lot of people that are dependent on me, and I have to get up and live. And that's what I decided to do.
Wow. You know, when you go through all those kind of trauma and you know, first of all, finding that mechanism, you know, and your coping mechanism and how am I going to overcome this? Because you're right, grief doesn't go away. It's not easy. You had been through a lot. You've overcome a lot, but you've been through a lot. And it's like, really, now I have to face this situation. Where do I go from here? And how do I move forward? But I think something that you said is very powerful. And this is something I want the audience to hear. Positive affirmations is what she put in the spirit and the universe. What she said out loud and what she said in her mind, girl, get up. Girl, get up.
Yes.
Girl, get up. Girl, get up. That positive reinforcement to give yourself the energy, the ability to change the mind, the powerful muscle of our mind that sets the direction of where we want to go, tells us whether it's going to be positive or negative. We could wake up every day and say today's going to be a bad day, right? But when we wake up in this positive energy, and even though we're having a rough day, Lord, just give me strength to get up, but it's going to be a good day. Oh, just help me through this, but it's going to be a good day. It's going to be a good day.
Yes.
And your ability to do that really shows the power of positive affirmations. And I am so thankful that you were able to experience that as you were moving forward. I'm thankful that, you know, you were able to find a mechanism to be able to move forward. And I only am prayerful that you will find, you know, that union that you want again in your time that's right for you and the family, etc. You know, in terms of moving forward. And we're going to take a station break, but when we come back, I want to talk a little bit about your relationship with your mother through this time, and when she actually became a drug addict and when she overcame it and how you were able to trust her with your kids again.
Okay.
We're going to take a station break. We'll be right back.
Every story has a hidden element that is not often shared. Hidden Stories, Healed Now with host Vicki Wright-Hamilton seeks to share the hidden gems in real-life experiences. Our guests are ordinary people sharing their stories of overcoming insurmountable odds while providing hope and inspiration.
You know, the thing that can cause us the biggest pain of not sharing our experiences is being embarrassed. And I just want you to know, don't be embarrassed. Don't be concerned that the thing that you're facing, the challenge that you're going through, the impacts that you're having are something that no one else is having. See, embarrassment begins to weigh on us physically, mentally, and emotionally. And there are solutions out there. And that's the whole purpose of talking about these stories, is to provide solutions and hope. Remember, you're not alone. You don't have to be alone. There are other people that can help you. So reach out, touch someone, and get that help. Look for that person that can provide for you what you need. So another opportunity to get a solution is always tune in to Hidden Stories, Healed Now. Welcome back to Hidden Stories Healed Now. So, as we were talking about moving forward, you talked about your mother and that your mother was a drug addict. Was she a drug addict from the time you were a child? Did she become a drug addict after losing her daughter? Was that, we all do things in terms of coping. Did that end up being her coping skill or what?
I do remember when I was younger, as young as about 7, I really can't remember back as far as when she actually became an addict. I know she drank a lot about the time I was about 7, but I can remember when she was after my baby sister did pass, I was 9. So I would definitely say that probably fueled her becoming an addict, because she did drink alcohol. I don't think she was an addict at that time as far as a drug addict. But I do think that was something that she got into after I lost my baby sister.
So she overcame her addiction.
She did.
And talk to me about having her keep your kids again, and when did you recognize that she really overcame her addiction and you could trust her to take care of your children and to help you? Talk to us
Yes.
about that.
So of course, I was a very young mother. I had my first daughter when I was 14 years old. At that time, my mother was coming out of addiction, but she had relapsed a couple times. And I think once I was pregnant, she had relapsed. But once my daughter was here, there was one incident that I think really forced her to say, I'm done, because it could have possibly taken her life. And once my daughter was here, I think that just gave her the motivation to say, you know what, I'm just going to be this strong woman, this strong grandmother that I need to be to my granddaughter. And that's what she was. And there was never a time that I did not trust my mother to keep my baby. Like, I was excited that she was I had her help, and she was the grandmother of my child.
Wow. And I'm sure that watching your mother overcome those challenges gave you even more motivation.
It did.
As you're continuing to move forward. So let's see if we have a question from our audience.
Hi, I'm Angie Sims, founder of the League of Girlfriends. First of all, you're an incredible woman, and your strength is just unparalleled. Thank you so much for sharing. I do have a question. So my question is, you mentioned you have a daughter. Having daughters, young girls mimic their moms. So I'd love to know, what is the greatest example that you've shown them how to love?
Wow, that's a great question. I will say when I was younger, I really felt like I didn't experience love. And so I think that I started looking for love in all the wrong places. And I just became this little wild child, But as I got older and I started seeing that, or knowing my worth, I started knowing that, it's just not going to be acceptable to accept anything from a man. And so what I teach my daughters is, first, you need to love yourself. Don't get caught up in, what this guy is telling you, or believe in everything he says. You have to know your self-worth, first of all. And second of all, God is, in due time, God will send you someone that's going to be just for you. And you don't even have to look for it. He's going to send that person that is just for you. And those are the things that I want my children to understand, especially my girls. My son, I teach him other things, but my daughters, I really want them to know that self-worth is so important. You have to love yourself above all things.
Thank you so much for your question. And I'd like to follow up with that with one thing, because you said know your self-worth. When did you find your self-worth?
Wow, honestly, gosh, I know I was in my 20s, and I think that I had a few relationships before I decided to say I'm done with dating. And I think it was that moment when I, again, got out of that community I was in, got into a beautiful apartment community I was living in, and I was back in school raising my children, and I said, you know what? I'm worth more than what I'm dealing with these guys, and it's just not worth it. It's just not worth me being sad every day. It's not worth me being miserable and waking up and not having a guy to depend on. Like, I didn't want to depend on a guy anymore. I wanted to know that I can do things on my own as well. And at that moment, I just knew that, okay, I'm Nia Williams, first of all, and I am all that, and I need someone that's going to respect me and love me just as much as I love myself. And at that moment, I said, I'm not doing it anymore.
All
and I
right,
haven't did
sister.
that anymore.
You know, that deserves a round of applause, let me tell you. Because
Thank
you're
you.
right. You are worth more than that. And you know, it's a lot of times when we have to go through something that allows us to look in the mirror and say, I love me
That's right.
more than I love this. And you know what? It's all about me right now.
Yes,
Right?
yes.
So you got to love yourself first to allow others to love you.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much, Naya, for being here. Would you all join me in thanking my guests for coming today? Thank you so much for joining us on another episode of Hidden Stories Healed Now. And remember, for every hidden story that we tell, for every secret that comes out the closet, we set ourselves free. See you on the next episode.